we are more connected than ever. And yet, so many are feeling disconnected, hopeless, scared. Honestly, who isn't feeling that way nowadays? The future looks uncertain as global and political tensions rise, then rise some more. Information spreads as fast as a wildfire with the power of the internet. We should be more informed than ever before, and information is power, isn't it? I'm sure you can relate to getting home after a long day, opening your phone and picking your poison. TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, just a couple TikToks, just a couple reels, then you swear you'll put it down. You blink and 3 hours have passed. Do you remember what it is that you saw? Can you remember the first video you looked at? You're not alone. I'm sure we've all been caught in a doom scroll. The term emerging during the pandemic describes the act of scrolling through often depressing posts or news. Everyone was spending more time online as the pandemic's isolation gripped us, desperate for the connections that make our lives worth living. But a handful of minutes can quickly turn to half an hour until it snowballs into hours. Before we tackle social media addiction, let's take a step back. What even is an addiction? How does it work? Why does it happen? Rachel Gosling, an addictions counselor at CMHA Thames Valley, has some answers to those questions. First, let's start with the 4 C's: cravings, compulsion with no regard for consequences, and a lack of control. These traits define an addiction. Based on the source of addiction, they can then be separated into 2 types. Chemical addictions are addictions to substances. Behavioral addictions are addictions to, you guessed it, behaviors. Gosling says addiction affects all aspects of a person's life.
Usually they're going to mention things like socially, maybe they're getting into arguments with people, maybe they're socially isolating. In terms of behaviors, people often describe that they're on social media longer than they meant to be, or that they're engaging with social media in higher risk ways, whatever that might be for them, whether it's oversharing or whether it is using social media platforms they've never used in ways they've never used before. When it comes to their thought processes and their emotions, often people are describing this preoccupation. Even when they're not using social media, they're always thinking about it. And then emotionally, that's often causing a lot of stress or a lot of anxiety around, again, the consequences of their use that they are feeling out of control of. And then lastly, there's all types of other potential kind of environmental consequences. Are they having a hard time paying attention at school, paying attention at work? Are they having financial problems because of their social media use?
Lastly, language is constantly changing. Gosling says problem technology use is replacing what most describe as social media addiction. But how big of a problem is it? Well, quite a concerning one, especially for young people. Gosling says 1 in 2 youth in Ontario report excessive screen time. 1 in 5 identify moderate to severe symptoms. Yet youth aren't alone in their struggles. Gosling and her team spread awareness through education in schools all around London. Here's what we can do right now to tackle our dependency on tech. First, just talking about it can go a long way. Gosling says being aware of how we use our devices will make our relationships with tech healthier. Things like app blockers or limiters can help us regain lost time.
But just keep tabs, Yeah, I've been on this app for 20 minutes. Maybe it's time to take a break, when a lot of the times the algorithms are designed to keep us on there longer than we meant to.
Second, take up a few hobbies. Gosling says hobbies diversify our dopamine sources, which makes us more resilient and healthy.
The more options we have, whether that's being with family or other recreational activities, if it's soccer or crocheting or whatever may be, that's another way that we can ensure that social media use doesn't become our only coping strategy when we do feel like we need a bit of a break or a bit of a stress reliever.
Join a dance class, try solving a jigsaw puzzle, or get out some paper and doodle. There's lots to try, and you don't have to be perfect. Lastly, Gosling and others at CMHA's Thames Valley have plenty of resources. Gosling says the more we know, the more we'll be in control.
We really just encourage people to do their research, have some more education about what those potential signs and symptoms are, and again, what we might be able to do on an individual level to, again, take control of our own technology use. Also knowing that research is slow and changes in policies are also slow. So there are those practical things we can do right now to take more control over it ourselves.
Those wishing to access counseling services can go online or in person to start the intake process. CMHA Thames Valley also has a helpline for those over 16. It can be reached anytime at 844-360-8055. We can talk all day about research on social media use, but what does it feel like to use it? How do its algorithms influence our perspectives? How can a tool used for connection leave us so disconnected? Heather Hatchie explored these questions during her final year in Fanshawe's Fine Arts. Her collection of self-portraits captures simple moments in oil pastels, beautifully imperfect and imperfectly beautiful, honest to real life. Hatchie says her work aims to explore beauty standards in the online sphere.
I was trying to focus on capturing a moment where I didn't feel perfect. Like, if you look at these images, they're all very different looking. Some of them don't even look like me, and that's okay because I feel like our lives are very messy and different, and they're never perfect. And I tried to capture, like, the messier moments when I'm not feeling great about myself.
Could you speak a bit to how social media can disconnect us from living in the present and living within ourselves?
I think social media, a lot of ideal lives are forced onto us, and the people that are living these ideal lives don't show the negative side that everyone goes through, and it can be kind of overwhelming to see so many people living these great lives, and you're like, well, why isn't my life that good? I think because of this, we try to live to social media standards that we see instead of living our lives to the fullest and just taking what we have and being grateful. We always try to live a better life than what we have, and I think that's a definitely negative impact of social media, so we never see the bad side of the good side.
Art, just like education, helps us to understand the wild world we live in. It opens up new perspectives and sparks new conversations. The more we talk about how we use social media, the easier it is to pinpoint why we use it and where we go from there. Like I said earlier, information is power, right? For In Your Backyard, I'm Finn Dermo.